Hello, everybody. Hello, reInvent. Are you guys excited? You can clap. It's okay. It's okay. You can clap. This is like just after the keynote. Did you like the keynote? How did you feel about it? I thought it was amazing. Some of the stories, the customer stories are things that I love the most. I like the Sony story. I am actually interested in games and creatives, and so that kind of stuff is very interesting to me to see on stage how we're having an impact. My name is Zach, and I've been at AWS for about 3.5 years. Before that, I did some startup work, and before that I was at Tableau and Microsoft. Been building software professionally about 25 years now. And I lead one of the product teams at Quick, and the reason I do this is because it's the data that we have access to that can help us to understand each other better. And if we can do that, then maybe we can have a little bit better conversations and we can actually make the world a little bit better place. And so joining me here on stage today are two great colleagues. Why don't we start with you, Jake?
Sure. Hi, my name is Jake Minette. I am the Data and AI Transformation Lead at GoDaddy. I've been in the data and analytics world for about 25 years now, and I do this because I love to make data easy and enjoyable for people to use.
Awesome. It's so great to have you here, Jake.
Yeah, thank you.
And would you also like to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jess Wang, and I lead go-to-market strategy for Amazon Quick Suite at AWS. I've been here for a little bit over 4.5 years now, and I work really closely with customers, learning from them, and I do this because I really enjoy helping customers figure out how to successfully drive adoption of technology.
That is very true. I've seen it in action. Jess and I get all around the world together. Okay, I'll call you guys back up when it's time to present your stuff, and we can go ahead and roll into the slides. All right. So here we are at democratizing access. This is the pre-slide. Here we go. To insights with Amazon Quick Suite. If that's not what you came for, stay anyway. It's going to be a fun session. All right, so a few things we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to take a little bit of a look at the AI transformation landscape, see it in our businesses today. The second is we're going to talk about some of the capabilities of Amazon Quick Suite. And we're going to go into some customer examples, and then we're going to deep dive on the GoDaddy use case, which is a pretty interesting one. Okay, now I want to give you all a gift. You're going to have to close your eyes for this. Are you ready? Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Your time is done. Not actually dead, please keep listening. Think of your old ways of doing things, of your preconceptions about how work is going to be, the jobs that people have, where the lines are. Put all of those things away. Just let them go. From here on, we're going to take what's left, we're going to live it properly by seeking out the light. We are going to move through this time of hyper change where it just feels like things are moving so rapidly from month to month to month. It can be exhausting to keep up, but we are going to move into this change with courage, with conviction, with optimism, and we are going to seek the light. And through this session, we're going to do some of that today. Now why change into this AI transformation? Well, so it turns out that there's this really interesting, if you haven't seen this MIT report, it's worth reading, it's very long, but I pulled out just this sort of key fact here. There's this really interesting report that says, hey, 39 million people are really going to be affected by AI in a very short period of time. And so it's really like pervasive. And I want to get a show of hands. How many of you in here are on the IT side? Okay, that's about a quarter. How many are on the business side? Okay, that's about a quarter. Now, same groups of people, how many of you have already aligned use cases across the business and IT for how you're going to deploy AI to your business users. Okay, all right, that's about 10%. Those of you who raised your hands, you're doing really well. You're way ahead of the average. It turns out you are 3 times more likely to see significant value from your investments in AI when you have that alignment. And we did something like this at Amazon, and you're gonna hear a little bit more about that later, but it can pay outsized dividends. Turns out only 14% of the companies that are seeking AI transformation are doing that. So you guys are ahead of the game. Okay, now we're gonna do another little participation exercise. This is a hand raise, and so I want you to put your hand down when I get past your number. The question is, what percentage of employees are using LLMs to do their work at work? And I'm gonna start with 30%. Hands in the air and put your hand down when I get to your number. 40%. 50%. 60%. 80%. Would you believe 90% of employees are already doing this, and only 40% of organizations have got these agents deployed in ways that are easy for people to get access to the tools. People are just doing this anyway. They're going to do this, and so it's our job to get ahead of it so that we can have the governance, the privacy, the security that we need to have in our organizations. Okay, then what would good look like? So I talked to a lot of customers, and there are some really common themes. You know, if any of these resonate with you, feel free to put your hand in the air and say, yes, that one looks good to me. Simplifying access to insights. This is a common mission. It's a common mission. We see people doing this, removing bottlenecks on experts, people that have, exactly, like business users may not have these technical skills, reducing the management overhead. So this is all of these things that are out there today, individual reports and processes and pipelines, they take a lot of time and effort to maintain. And then, of course, we all care about securing, protecting data. It's very important, especially in the age of AI. So how might we best drive such a transformation? Well, you may guess that I have an opinion. So having worked on data for a very long time, my proposal is that we take our existing workflows, things that people are already doing, experiences that they are already using, and we enrich and extend those. And this can be really helpful because it will induce adoption, it will reduce friction, and it'll give us a context for making that contract between the IT and technology side and the business sides. So, our vision then at AWS is to create a set of agentic teammates that can then quickly answer questions and then help you to take action from those answers. So it's typically not enough to just get the answer to a question, but you do need actually a facility to then take the next step in order to really make an impact. And so that's why we built QuickSuite. QuickSuite is a complete set of agents for work, and it enables you to get answers and insights from data, all of your enterprise data. So it goes across your structured data, your unstructured data, your applications. These answers are easy to then take and use to take an action, like interact with an additional platform, a different agent, a third-party service. And we have built all of this on top of the existing QuickSight infrastructure, which was built from the ground up for scalability, performance, governability, giving you the sort of transparency and controls you need to ensure that your data remains private and is useful. Now, I've been working on this AI in BI problem for a long time. We actually coined the term generative BI a couple of reinvents ago. What we're seeing in the AI landscape is people have already got their tool in place, and so they just want to take AI and they want to put it on whatever's there. And this kind of makes sense for the reasons I was talking about earlier, which is, okay, now people can easily adopt it. It's just right in their workflow. All of those things kind of work. But it has some limitations. So now the AI is actually taking information after the fact. It's not truly integrated. You're not fully leveraging the capabilities of reasoning, the capabilities of evolving sort of skills that these AIs have. And so what you want to do actually is think about this completely differently. So what we've done is we've put AI kind of in the center of our architecture. And so it has access to all of the different capabilities. So the large language models, foundational models are in the center, and they can go to the BI system. They can go to the unstructured data sources. They can go to the tools, and they can actually bring all of that stuff together. And so how that looks then in practice is that we have a thing that we call the quick index. And this is all of your data crossing all of your sort of structured sources, databases, data warehouses, data lakes, as well as unstructured documents, websites, apps. And you're taking all of that, you're wrapping it all together into a single source of context for the agent. So the agent can actually pull and draw on these multiple sources at the same time. And this allows it to create bridges. So it can say, for example, I'm going to, for example, go to the internet, search to see what products people are reviewing highly, and then I can go query those products from our product catalog, and I can create a sales proposal that says, hey, go talk to people about how great these products are, because you can see all of these reference materials from the internet. So this is really powerful. The other thing they can do is they can call tools. So they can call additional agents over MCP. They can actually call specific applications like Salesforce or Jira. And when you sort of put all of this stuff together, what you end up with is a broad set of tools. So I'm going to go sort of deep dive into what some of these tools are and like how especially they apply to this sort of conversation about democratizing access to insights. But you're seeing here, you got things like spaces and chat agents and research. You've got QuickSight, automating flows. All of these things come together in a single package. So it's a suite of tools that you can use. It sits on a common governance model, so it's the same user, it's the same identity. You have access to all the same data. So whether that's coming from one of your data stores, your sort of data lakes, or whether it's coming from an application, all of that kind of sits together in a way that you can actually access it from the different tools using a single authentication and governance scheme. And then we also have broad world knowledge, which you can get both from Bedrock models and from the web. So what are some key capabilities? Well, of course, you can build dashboards and reports using natural language. So that's really helpful. You would expect that. We have a chat function that's built in, gives you the ability to go across both structured and unstructured sources. So a little bit to the scenario that I was speaking to before. Now I can ask these questions, and I, as a business user, don't have to know what the source of that information is. It can sort of easily go across what I have available to me and then draw insights that require the merging of that data. We have this kind of self-service agent development capability. And so here, this is for non-technical users. They can build their own agents. We have a ton of people doing this at Amazon. Jeff's going to talk about that later. These self-service agents, you can set their personality, you can give them specific skills or knowledge, so you have a lot of control over how they're defined. And if you think of an agent as like a personality, well, there's also like the location that you're doing work, and so that's like a space. So you could say this could be like a team room or a project that you're working on. And so what you're doing is in a space collecting a set of data that's context that you want the AI to work with when it's solving a particular set of problems. And this lets you focus the AI so that it's sort of looking in a more narrow band, and it improves then the relevance of answers. We have a research capability. So the research capability is able to do long-running research tasks. And so these can run for minutes or hours, sometimes like if you wanted it to be longer. And they have access, what makes them really powerful is they have access to the web, which many research tools do, but they also have access to all of your enterprise data. So you can say things like, hey, go look to see which customers had a drop-off in sales, and then go search the web to figure out in the news what may have been going on with those customers, and then come back to me with a summary. And so it can go across those internal, external sources in a way that retains your privacy, but also gives you access to that kind of broad set of internet information. And then we also have flows. And so flows is a really powerful tool for self-service automation. So here, as an end user, I can easily automate common steps that I might take using natural language. So I don't have to have specific technical skills to do this. You kind of just tell the agent what you want it to do, what the steps are. It can do things like take in parameters, rerun on a regular basis, and it's a really kind of interesting and powerful capability. So, all right, I'm gonna give you a little demo of what this looks like. So this is just, in this case, you could think of me as a sales manager, and so I come to Quick, and it just right on the home page got some sort of insights from my dashboard. You can see here, if I go to the dashboard, I've got sort of customer records and opportunities. Okay, well, I'd like to understand how is profitability going for our top selling customers. And so Quick is gonna go and it's gonna look, it's gonna run a couple steps, it's gonna pull some data directly out of the dashboard, it's gonna make an analysis. And so here it's saying, hey, you've got a profitability problem with any company insurance, it's down 17%, so that's not good. Okay, well, how can we improve profitability of sales to any company insurance? So now it can go back, it can look, and it can say what seems to be going on here, why is profitability low? And it says, well, actually, there's a 70% discount that was made on the big old database product. Well, maybe I shouldn't be selling that product. Chart out any company's purchases so that I can figure out over time how much of that they're buying. And so here it can generate a chart. It's actually using high charts and then embedding those. It's an interactive chart, so I can see, it looks like they're buying a number of products, but if I hide contact matcher to kind of clear things up, they only bought this big old database thing one time. So I don't have to be too concerned with not selling it anymore. So I might go look for an alternative. So I'm gonna go to, this is a space my team has created, and here it's got some product guides from AWS in it, documentation for our product, the database product, and it's got the dashboard that we were looking at before. So here I can just say, well, what AWS alternatives would potentially be good for this company in place of the big old database product? So I can go back to them and I can say, actually go, do this other thing. So it's going to go look through all of those sources. And so it's looking across the structured and the unstructured data, and it's coming up with a recommendation. It's saying, oh, Aurora might be good for you. Look, it's got these scalability benefits. I got that information from this website. That's how you know what the sourcing was. So that's helpful, but then it's going a little bit further. It's actually saying, hey, for transactional, that's good, but you might want Dynamo for high volume, you might want Document to be for policy and claims, so different kinds of use cases, and it's inferring policy and claims because it's an insurance company. Okay, that's great. So do we have Slack for this customer? And so now I can go and it can look and see, oh yeah, we've got this Slack channel that we're using to talk about what's going on with them. Hey, can you just summarize this conversation that we've had and then send all of that information over to Slack? So you see here, it's pulled out some key findings and some immediate actions that we can go take. And then it's gonna send this off to Slack and you'll be able to see it shows up on the Slack side. Now, third step, that's fine, but I want to do some deep research to kind of understand what's going on in this business plan in the long term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new research task. I'm going to say, hey, create a plan to improve sales and profitability for the top 10 customers, leverage product descriptions, consider possible cross-selling opportunities that we can use, pick AWS alternatives that I might recommend to people if it looks like we shouldn't be selling a particular product, so kind of solve that problem for me. I'm going to feed in that same space that was already there, so that's the data context it's working with internally, and then it's going to go search the web for other information as well. Now, first thing it does is give me back a plan. Okay, this is what I think I will go research. So I can edit this plan if I like. Here I'm just going to go ahead and run it. And you'll see that it comes back with a few things. So it says, hey, these top customers of yours, and this is coming from the dashboard, these are 18.5% of your sales. So it's a good amount. Then it's going to go and it's going to say, hey, your net revenue retention is lower than what you would expect for a SaaS company. It kind of found that on the internet, and so it's making a recommendation there. It's saying, hey, you can replace this product with these AWS alternatives, and then it's saying, okay, this is an impact summary I would expect you to be able to get to within the first year. So it's given me a plan to consider. I can easily share this internally, securely, by name with people already in my Quick instance. I can also download it as a document or a PDF and then use that in Quick in the future or another experience. Okay, there you go, Jess.
Thank you, Zach. That's the vision of how Amazon Quick Suite can drive AI transformation. And I'm going to take the next 10 minutes to actually show you what that looks like in action with 3 very different organizations and some of the real tangible results they've already been able to achieve with Quick Suite. So now let's kick it off first with Amazon, right? So as a company, we believe in using our own products and services, right? We leverage our internal implementations, serving sort of as an internal customer, so that we can use the experimentation and the learnings we gain from the internal feedback to further enhance our products to get ready for GA for our customers and innovate on an ongoing basis. So Quick Suite GA on October 9th, and that's about 2 months ago. Our internal actually started a little bit earlier in July, so it's been about 4 months to today, right? And let me just share with you some of the results that we've been able to achieve in those 4 months. So as of today, 4 months in, we have several hundreds of thousands of Amazonians that are actively using Quick Suite as their agentic teammate on the day-to-day basis. And of those folks, over actually 40,000 employees are taking even that to the next level and have created custom agents to help with their own specific job functions and day-to-day tasks that they need help with, right? And 2 additional metrics. Some of the things Zach covered, we actually also seen over 50,000 research reports that have been run, right? Helping people do brainstorming, synthesize in-depth information, as well as over 300,000 flows, right? That's automating lightweight workflows, repetitive tasks that gives people hours back into their day. So we're seeing just within 4 months how quickly Quick Suite can help to transform a company like Amazon and AWS as their agentic teammate at scale, right? So now I want to share a little actually using Quick Suite, right? So what's interesting is, sort of as a builder culture, we tend to see a lot of our builders within Amazon, like the service team, the engineers and SAs, adopting services quickly. But with Quick Suite, it's been really unique because we've seen every job function and family across AWS as well as Amazon corporate use Quick Suite. And for example, one team is using Quick Suite for in-depth research, right, to improve their productivity. And another team is using it to just brainstorm new ideas that they don't know of or is out of the box, and help to organize communication, project outlines to facilitate more effective cross-team collaboration. And the third one is actually, I think many people are using, is to manage their communication, right? We all have tons of emails and messages, and they start the day using Slack to summarize those messages, tell them what's important, and actually even help to refine those messages back as replies. And lastly, many teams internally are using Amazon QuickSight from before as their BI platform to gain insights into their data. So as a continuation of that, they're now able to use QuickSuite as a unified space to track those KPIs, but also leverage conversational AI to do that next level self-service analytics within that one single interface. So I think just looking at all of these, what excites me or is most interesting is the diversity of use cases, right? QuickSuite is not solving just one single problem, but it's really solving the problem depending on how those teams work and where they need help the most, right? There could be many different entryways and different applications, and that's powerful. So to just wrap up this one story, you might be wondering, how do we achieve this level of adoption in just 4 months, right? So tying back to what Zach said earlier, how organizations can achieve 3x more value when there's alignment between IT, which tends to focus on control and governance, and the business, which tends to value self-service, right? We implemented a two-pronged approach. First, we partner really closely with Amazon IT to make sure we have the right connectivity and also access to the data sets, permissioning and applications with all of the governance and securities that need to be in place. And then secondly, for the business, we made sure QuickSuite is really simple to adopt, right? We implemented an intuitive UI, and we further leveraged extensions to put those AI agents actually where people are already working. So think about your browsers, your email, your Slack, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, et cetera. So with this dual approach, we're able to align those vision and deliver value to those hundreds of thousands of users within those 4 months. And next, we'll look at BMW. So BMW is actually a customer I've been working really closely for over 4.5 years now since joining AWS. And they started their journey first with Amazon QuickSight, which is a BI capability within Amazon QuickSuite, right? They started evaluating that in order to replace and modernize several of their legacy BI platforms they have across globally and to provide better self-service analytics to their business end users. But at the same time, BMW also recognized for a company of their scale and size, they have so many siloed data all over the place, and the right data foundation is super critical to any transformation they might want to drive. So they built a cloud data hub on AWS that unifies over 10 petabytes of data across 460 different providers, and integrating Amazon QuickSuite's BI capabilities on top of this cloud data hub, they're able to really remove those data silos and provide insights to 20,000 users. And that's across over 1,000 different use cases globally across their operations. And just to name a few, that includes inventory, supply chain, as well as shop floor optimization, right? And the scale is huge, and they have also delivered really tangible results with the two capabilities in conjunction. They were able to deliver 1.9 billion euros in business value with QuickSuite and the Cloud Data Hub. Right? And as a large adopter of QuickSight, BMW naturally has been an early adopter and tester for QuickSuite as well, right, when it became available. And to them, they actually saw the transformation they've had just as a beginning. And next, they're looking to further augment the data lake that they have on structured data in the Cloud Data Hub, augmenting that with unstructured knowledge to have that even more complete view of their business, and then potentially leveraging the additional agentic capabilities of QuickSuite to further empower their users, right? So this is a quote that we just received as of last week from the BMW Group, and really excited to see what they're able to accomplish next. Okay. Now, last but not least, 3M. So 3M is interesting because it's also a large enterprise manufacturing company, but they took a very different approach compared to BMW. So they came to us earlier this year with a challenge. As a company, they have a goal this year to really improve their customer retention, and they want to implement a data-driven approach. but their sales teams were just inundated with data from all these different platforms. It's difficult to synthesize them, and it was becoming a huge time drain to make sense of them. And they needed help to get that data synthesized so they can produce the right strategy for their customers. So when they checked out QuickSuite, evaluated all those different capabilities as Zach showed, they actually chose to reimagine that BI experience for their sales team with an AI-first approach, right? They totally bypassed the traditional dashboards that you expect for like a sales dashboard, like the one Zach showed in his demo, but they went straight to implement quick chat and quick flows, right? So their sales teams are now able to ask questions of their sales data and customer information via natural language query in the chat experience, which quickly helps them discover the information they need and also synthesizes it in a consumable format. And then as a level up to automate some of those tedious tasks like updating customer records or activities, report summaries in Salesforce, they're able to implement quick flows to automate a lot of that, gaining a lot of efficiency in your day-to-day. So as a starting point, 3M did a successful pilot to 50 different sales folks with this use case. And now with the success of that, they're planning a strategic expansion to over 3,000 global sales team members. So I think just to quickly wrap up the customer case study section, right? We talk about 3 very different companies, 3 different approaches with QuickSuite, but the common thread here is that they're all democratizing insight at scale. They're empowering their users, business or technical, with natural language capabilities, right, for self-service. And they're all able to maintain the security and governance with QuickSuite and deliver tangible business results. So with that, I am really excited to now hand it over to Jake to deep dive into GoDaddy's journey.
All right. Thank you, Jess. Okay. Hi, everyone. Once again, my name is Jake, and I am from GoDaddy. Today, I'm going to talk about our journey with QuickSuite. So first, a little bit about GoDaddy. We have 20 million customers around the globe. We have 80 million domains under management. And our vision is to radically shift the global economy towards life-fulfilling entrepreneurial ventures. And our mission is to enable entrepreneurs everywhere, making opportunity more inclusive for all. Now, how we go about doing that is not just with domain names, but we offer a suite of AI-enabled products under GoDaddy Aero. So if our customers want to further their venture with a website, with email, with security, we're there to help them along on this entrepreneurial journey. And speaking of journeys, we have been on a journey with QuickSuite for the past year and a half. We previously had a more traditional BI infrastructure. We had around 5,000 dashboards. Each one of those dashboards could take a few weeks to create. And we came to the conclusion that the answer isn't more dashboards, it's more insights. And our solution for finding those insights is Amazon QuickSight. So in mid-2024, we announced QuickSight as our enterprise BI tool. By the end of that year, we had a little over 500 users, 335 dashboards, and 144 topics. Now, topics are they're a natural language model that sits on top of your data set in QuickSight, so you can ask questions and get answers. By Q3 this year, we had over 2,000 users, 885 dashboards, 216 topics, and all of our major orgs within GoDaddy have been onboarded onto QuickSight. Now, this quarter, in Q4 2025, we launched QuickSuite at the end of October. We're working to expand that new AI tool set to all of our users. We've got about 1,000 dashboards, and we are retiring our legacy BI tool. So we've been leveraging the AI capabilities of QuickSight to make a real impact across a number of places in our org, like customer experience, providing insights on our customer activities, customer care agent performance, and NPS. Our product management team, they're able to use scenarios in QuickSight to do deep dive analysis without knowing SQL or Python. Finance team uses QuickSight for anomaly detection, and our exec team uses data stories to create automated weekly summaries. So we've built a pretty solid foundation with QuickSight. And now with QuickSuite, we have the opportunity to really reimagine how our users interact with their data using these new agentic AI capabilities. And we're going to focus on 3 opportunities today. The first is discover, so finding authoritative, trusted data sources when there's thousands of potential sources. Enable, which is guiding our users on how to use that data once they get there, so they understand it better and get to the insights quicker. And last is accelerate, which is automating repetitive manual tasks so we can do higher value work. So I've worn a lot of hats at GoDaddy. I've worked in finance and accounting, domain registration, marketing, and that's pretty common for folks at GoDaddy. We're always reorganizing the teams, looking for the most impact and keeping things fresh. And when I first get into a new line of business, the first thing I look for is the data. I'm an analyst at heart, so I want to know what are the KPIs, what are the metrics, what dashboards are people looking at to run the business. And when there's 1,000 options out there, it can be kind of intimidating. And so, who here uses a dashboard or a data set on their day-to-day basis, just a show of hands? Okay, hopefully a lot of you since you're at this session. And who here has struggled or seen those around them struggle to find the right dashboard or the right data set? Yeah, pretty common experience. And so what we've done in QuickSuite is we've created a dashboard navigation chat agent. It recommends the existing dashboards to the users. It uses the spaces within QuickSuite. So it's built upon our existing data governance and dashboard documentation, so we didn't have to write any code to get this up and running. And it seamlessly integrates the unstructured with the structured data to provide really great semantic search results. And it lives in the existing workflow. So people are already using QuickSight for their dashboards and their data. Since it's right alongside, it really increases adoption just organically. So with this agent, people can find the dashboards they need to understand their business. And once I find a dashboard and the data that I need, I usually need help understanding it. So whenever you pull up a dashboard, I'm sure you've seen it, there's always a ton of filters, there's metrics, there's acronyms. You don't always know everything that's going on. And so what we've done at GoDaddy is not only we've used a custom chat agent that doesn't only help you find the data, it also guides the users. So it helps them get the most out of their data, and it sits right next to them within that experience. It can see the dashboard that the user is on. It knows the data that's up there. It can see the filters that they're using. So it's kind of like an analyst is sitting right next to that user. And so once I know the dashboards and data that I need, I know the KPIs and the metrics in the business. Typically, when I'm in a new line at GoDaddy, I'm asked to put together something called the weekly business review. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with something like this. It's where we consolidate all of the trends and good, bad, and ugly that's going on in our business and create a document that's shared with our leadership team, and so they know what's going on. And what that looks like in terms of a process for me is I pull up a dashboard, I look for some insights, I look for some trends, I write some things down in Word or PowerPoint. I go to the next dashboard, I pull it up, I look for some trends, I look for some insights, I go back to Word and I type it up. And I do this for a couple hours every Friday, for the rest of my life. And now with QuickSight Flows, I can really accelerate my impact by taking that repetitive manual work out of the equation, and it can do a lot of that legwork for me. So let's get into our demo. So once again, we're going to build a solution for data discovery. We're going to help our users find more meaning in their data, and we're going to accelerate their impact by taking care of some of those repetitive tasks. And we're going to do that all in a 10-minute demo from start to finish. So let's go. All right. So the first one I'm going to take on in terms of our opportunities is this data discovery. So I'm going to go to QuickSight and I'm going to create a space. So a space is just a it's an area for knowledge. You can put structured and unstructured data in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is add in all of our dashboard documentation. So we've got a couple hundred dashboards that have documentation. They each have their own file. So I'm going to upload those files into the space. You can connect this to OneDrive, to Confluence, to SharePoint, wherever you keep your data. There's a lot of ways to get it there. But I'm going to upload those files. It takes a minute just to process. And then I'm going to add in some structured data. So I have two topics. Those are those natural language models that sit on top of my data. I have a topic that I've created for dashboard assets, so knowing who owns what dashboard and what data set. And I have another topic for dashboard usage, so which ones are getting the most usage out there. So I'm going to add those two topics to my space. So I've got my unstructured data in the form of all my documentation. I've got my structured data from these two topics, and I'm done with the space. Now I'm just going to create a chat agent that uses that space. To do that, I'm going to give it a really simple instruction. You're the GoDaddy dashboard navigator, an expert assistant specializing in helping GoDaddy employees discover and access the most relevant dashboards for their needs. And QuickSight will go in the background and give me a head start on this. It will create a persona and some instructions for this agent. It will look for some data sources, some spaces that would be useful to it. So you can see right here, it already has the agent identity. That's pretty much what I typed in. It also has some persona instructions. Now, if you guys have worked with these types of agents before, you know that the instructions are really where the magic happens. So I've typed out some instructions. I'm going to paste those in there so this agent knows how to work with its tools. So the first tool is this dashboard discovery. It's your primary source. This space contains dashboards with validated documentation. And then the next tool I wanted to use is that QuickSight dashboard usage. Use this topic to identify the most popular dashboards for a given topic or metric. And then last is our assets. Use this topic to find dashboards not documented in the dashboard discovery. Not all of our dashboards have documentation, but only use this as a last option. And you can see right here, it actually found some knowledge sources for me already. I didn't do this. Just based on the prompt it put in there, it found the spaces that it thinks I could use. I'm only going to use the demo space because it's a demo. And then I'm done. I click launch chat agent, and now I have this agent that I can ask these questions to. So if I come into a new line of business, I'm brand new to our customer care organization, and I want to know more about how we run our business. I'm going to launch this chat agent. I can just choose it from the drop down up here, my GoDaddy dashboard navigator. And I'm going to ask it about customer care data. I say, I'm new to the customer care organization. What dashboards would you recommend I view to understand performance? My focus will be on increasing bookings. Bookings is just a sales term that we use, one of the sales metrics. And you can see that the agent's going through the tools it has. It has the QuickSight dashboard usage. It's reviewing that. It's going through all the documentation. And it says, welcome to customer care. Based on your focus on increasing bookings, I've identified several key dashboards that'll help you understand care performance. And that first one right there is the care bookings demo. I did slide that one into the instructions to make sure it came up first. I'll tell the truth on that one. It also has the care bookings and contact performance. It says this dashboard is highly popular with 423 views. And so that's that combination of the unstructured data with the structured data. So it brings the relevance and a real trust signal to that unstructured data. We know that's being used. So yeah, just a sec here. I just want to pause. So that's what we've done. We created that in just a matter of, 2 or 3 minutes, and now we have a solution for navigating to those dashboards across our organization. And now we've got to the dashboard. Here we go. And like I've said, you've got a number of charts on here. I've got a lot of acronyms, a lot of metrics. I don't know what all this means. So I'm going to pull up my dashboard navigator, and I'm going to ask it for some help. So I'm going to say, do you have any instructions on how to use this dashboard? And since it's within QuickSuite, it knows what dashboard I'm looking at, it can see the filters that are up there, it can see the data. So it's going to look through the documentation and say, I can see you currently have the Care Bookings demo dashboard open. It's perfect for learning how to use GoDaddy dashboards. Let me provide you with comprehensive instruction. So here's your basic navigation, here's some specifics for the Care Bookings demo dashboard, and some common workflows and tips. And it's integrated right into that experience, so there's less context switching to going to another site or Confluence or a help page. And right here I'm gonna ask, can you help me with these acronyms? I see there's PY on here, IB voice, outbound voice. What do these mean? And so it can help me understand this dashboard. It'll look through the documentation, and it says, well, based on the Care Bookings demo dashboard, PY is prior year, IB voice is inbound voice, OB voice is outbound voice. And at the bottom, you can see it says inbound voice is your largest channel, outbound voice is your smallest channel, because it's looking at the same data it knows, so it can bring that relevance. So yeah, right there, we have that solution for guiding our users through the data that's out there and kind of having that analyst sit right beside them. So one of the cool things about Quick Suite is it does save all of your conversations. I can easily go up there and see kind of what I've talked about before. And so I'm gonna go back to that conversation I had earlier, and I wanna create that weekly business review using these 3 dashboards that it suggested. And to do that, I'm gonna create a flow. And to create a flow, all you have to do is just tell it what you wanna do, pretty simply. So I'm gonna say for a given week, create the Care Weekly Business Review, the WBR. Then I'm gonna tell it what dashboards I want it to look at. So generate an executive summary of the Care Bookings demo dashboard, an executive summary of the Care GCR versus last year view, and an executive summary of Care Bookings and Contacts market view. And then I'm gonna give it some context of how I want the output to be generated. So I'm gonna tell it I want an executive summary, I want a detailed performance analysis, strategic insights and recommendations, and I want my appendix with all of the data points. And with that, I'm gonna click Generate. Quick Suite will then, in the background, look through all of the dashboard assets to see if it can locate those dashboards that I mentioned. And it's going to create all of those steps for me. So this is just based off those prompts that I put in. It's created this edit view for me. It has where I enter in the week, it has some additional context, and then it has the different dashboards. It found the Care Bookings demo. It has the view Care GCR versus last year, so I can see the dashboards that it found. I can add in additional logic in here. I can go to external sources. And I have right here, generate executive summary for these 3, the detailed analysis, the key insights and recommendations, and then give me my complete Care Weekly Business Review. And this looks good to me. I didn't have to make any edits to this, although I certainly could. So I'm gonna go out of the edit mode and go into run mode. So each week when I would go to create my weekly business review, I would go into run mode, or you can actually launch this just from a chat window too. And what I have to do is give it the week I wanna review. It does ask for some additional context, so I'm gonna tell it to focus on our inbound voice, and it's gonna get to work. You click the start button, and it will go about the process of pulling up each one of those dashboards, reviewing that dashboard for any key trends, key insights, and it will create that executive summary for me, so I can go and do something more useful with my day. So here's an example of it. It has up there has the KPIs that I have, it has the channel performance breakdown, the key trends and insights, and my rate volume mix analysis. So that's the executive summary for the first dashboard. It will continue going through pulling up the additional dashboards that I've asked it to review. It takes usually only a couple minutes, obviously depends on how many tasks you have in your flow. But I've sped it up a little bit, and once you're done with this, you have an executive summary for each one of these dashboards that you can download and put into PDF, put into Word, wherever you want, and then it also consolidates all of those executive summaries into my complete Care Weekly Business Review. So here's my completed, consolidated view of how Care is doing. So I've taken a couple hours of repetitive tasks of pulling up dashboards and just looking at things, and I've had Quick Suite do the work for me. So that's it for my demo. I want to talk a little bit more about the benefits we've seen from QuickSight at GoDaddy. Now we have 2,000 users that have these AI tools available to them, which is really cool. We've simplified our environment by reducing our dashboards by 80%. We're making faster decisions. We estimate that we're going to save about 15,000 hours from our analytics team using these chat agents to field these types of questions that normally go to the experts. And then we're also automating processes. If we have just 10% of our user base create a flow and they run it a couple times a week, and each flow saves an hour, it's 20,000 hours in a year. And so what's next for us is really scaling this impact, is moving it from an analytics solution to a GoDaddy practice, unifying our dashboards, data sets, and knowledge into a single experience with spaces. We're also looking at Quick Automate, which is part of the one of the quick tools for more complex processes, and deploying agentic teammates for research, business, and automation. Last is a couple lessons learned. I'll keep them pretty simple, just two. Number one is move AI closer to existing workflows to increase adoption. And number two is AI evolves daily. Agility beats attachment. You're gonna have to let go of some things that you might have built and you really hold dear to your heart, I have, because there's better options out there now. So, all right, guys, well, that is my demo and my time. Thank you very much. I'm gonna hand it back to Zach. Yes, there you go, sir.
Thank you, what a good job. All right, thanks, Nick. Hey, why don't you guys come back up? We're just gonna tie up really quick. So this is what we were talking about today, what drives AI transformation success. So Quick is going to help us to simplify access to insights at scale for the organization. That's really critical, making things easy for people to use. It removes this tool friction where people just don't have the skills, or maybe they feel, trepidation about stepping into the water, and so we can all enable them and make it just feel more comfortable to do the work. It promotes this team collaboration. I think this is going to be really important. I feel like we're just on the verge of moving from this, okay, there's 1 and 2 and 3 bespoke agents, but I think we're moving to a place where each and every one of us is going to have a handful of different agents that we're using for different things, that we made, that we can configure and choose how their behaviors and their attitudes are. And I really think that's going to happen at work. So being able to collaborate together, create agents that work for your team in context of your data, that's going to be really important. And then, of course, we have to protect the data. We have to secure the data. This is the most important lifeblood. We're just seeing now with, AI is a product of data, how valuable it is. And so Quick provides all of those capabilities. You're going to get the complete set of agentic teammates like we talked about, move from answers to actions, and then you get all the enterprise-grade integration. You get started with Quick for free if you're not already a Quick user. And then we have this great community online. They are very helpful. They're working through problems, sharing ideas. Please join the community. They can help you. Maybe you can help them. And then, of course, you can also check out Skill Builder for various topics on agentic AI. There are a bunch of Quick-related topics at reInvent. So if you would like to go, this is now we're into Tuesday, but also tomorrow and then on Thursday. So there's a bunch of content you can go get. Thank you very much for choosing our session. I'm humbled that you spent your time with us. Please do submit your ratings in the AWS Events app. It's the way that we know whether or not we're doing a good job. Thank you.